Stop! The babies are still inside. The orange cat bolted through the open front gate before anyone could stop him. A terrified scream echoed across the mansion's courtyard. Smoke drifted from an upstairs window as security guards rushed in different directions, convinced every member of the family had already escaped. But the cat refused to run away. He sprinted straight toward the danger. Why would a stray that nobody wanted risk everything for two babies who weren't even his own? The answer would leave an entire nation speechless. The billionaire's mansion stood proudly beneath the bright Korean afternoon sun, surrounded by perfectly trimmed gardens and gleaming white walls. Luxury cars lined the driveway as staff members hurried through another busy day. Everything looked peaceful from the outside. No one noticed the small orange cat slipping through the decorative front gate. His fur was dusty from weeks of wandering. One ear carried a tiny scar. His ribs showed just enough to reveal he hadn't enjoyed a proper meal in days. Yet there was something unusual about the way he moved. He wasn't searching through trash. He wasn't begging for food. His golden eyes quietly studied every corner of the enormous property as though he had arrived for a reason. A gardener spotted him first. "There goes another stray." He grabbed a broom and hurried over. "Shoo! Get out of here!" The cat calmly dodged the broom before disappearing beneath a flowering hedge. The gardener sighed. These animals never learn. A few minutes later, another worker noticed him sitting near the marble fountain. "Security!" Two guards walked over immediately. "Open the side gate. I'll chase him." The younger guard clapped loudly. The cat darted away. Instead of running toward the street, he slipped between expensive flower pots, climbed a short stone wall, and quietly landed beside the mansion's back entrance. The older guard frowned. "That thing is clever." Inside the mansion, laughter filled the nursery. Two 6-month-old twin girls lay comfortably inside matching cribs while their nanny gently played with colorful stuffed animals. One baby reached toward a hanging mobile. The other giggled at her own reflection in a mirror. Downstairs, their mother adjusted the sleeves of her elegant jacket before preparing for an important business meeting. She was one of Korea's most respected Afro-Korean entrepreneurs, admired for building a global technology empire from almost nothing. Every decision she made was calculated. Every minute of her day was planned. Her assistant approached. "The investors will arrive in 30 minutes." She nodded. "Good. Make sure lunch is served in the garden afterward." Before the assistant could respond, the housekeeper entered. "Ma'am." Another stray cat somehow entered the property. Her expression immediately hardened. "Again?" "Yes." "Have security remove it immediately." "I don't want stray animals near my daughters." "Yes, ma'am." The order spread quickly. Within minutes, almost everyone in the mansion knew there was another unwanted visitor. Meanwhile, the cat quietly wandered through the back garden. He paused beside a koi pond. A butterfly landed briefly on his nose before fluttering away. Instead of chasing it, he lifted his head. His ears twitched. From somewhere inside the mansion, a tiny laugh. The twins. He slowly walked toward the sound. The nursery window had been left slightly open to let in the warm afternoon breeze. The babies noticed him immediately. One little girl stopped playing. Her tiny eyes widened. Then she smiled. The second baby followed her sister's gaze. Within seconds, both girls began giggling. The cat sat quietly beneath the window. He didn't meow. He simply watched them with calm curiosity. The nanny laughed. "Well, aren't you two making a new friend?" One twin stretched out her tiny hand toward the window. The cat blinked slowly, almost like he understood. The nanny smiled. "I've never seen them react to an animal like this." A sharp voice interrupted the peaceful moment. "What is that cat doing here?" The housekeeper appeared at the nursery door. She looked through the window. There it is. Within seconds, 2 security guards rushed outside. There, the cat calmly stood. The guards surrounded him from opposite directions. "This time we've got him." The younger guard reached forward. In one smooth movement, the orange cat squeezed beneath a wooden garden bench. The guard lunged. Too late. The cat slipped behind a row of flowering bushes. The older guard laughed despite himself. "I told you. He's smarter than he looks." The younger guard wasn't amused. "It's just a cat." He chased after him again. The cat darted across the lawn before suddenly stopping beside a large stone sculpture. Instead of running farther, he looked back, almost as if he were measuring the distance between himself and the men chasing him. Then he disappeared again. The older guard scratched his head. I don't like it. What? Most strays panic. That one keeps thinking. Back upstairs, the twins had stopped laughing. They searched around the window. The little visitor was gone. One baby frowned. The other let out a tiny, disappointed sound. The nanny gently rocked them. Maybe he'll come back another day. Downstairs, the billionaire walked through the entrance hall while speaking on her phone. No delays. The presentation starts exactly at 1. She ended the call and noticed the guards returning. Did you remove the cat? The younger guard hesitated. Not yet, ma'am. She raised an eyebrow. Not yet? It's unusually difficult to catch. Her expression showed little patience. Then call animal control. I don't want unnecessary risks around my children. Yes, ma'am. She walked away without another word. Neither she nor anyone else realized the orange cat had quietly climbed onto the roof of a nearby gazebo. From there, he could see almost the entire estate, the gardens, the driveway, the nursery window, the staff moving from building to building. His ears turned with every distant sound. Below him, the younger guard finally spotted him again. There he is. Everyone looked up. The cat remained perfectly still. The gardener laughed. I've never seen a stray act like he's guarding the place. The older guard folded his arms. For some reason, I don't think he came here by accident. What do you think? Was this remarkable cat simply looking for a safe place to stay? Or had fate already brought him exactly where he needed to be? Share your thoughts below, because what happens next will make that question even more unforgettable. The younger guard shook his head. Whatever he's planning, today is his last day here. He started toward the gazebo with slow, careful steps. The orange cat watched him without moving. Every worker nearby stopped for a moment, curious to see whether the mysterious stray would finally be caught. Easy. The guard stretched out both hands. You've got nowhere else to go. The cat waited. One more step. Another. Just as the guard reached for him, the cat leaped gracefully onto a nearby tree branch, raced across it with astonishing balance, and landed on the roof of a storage shed. A few gardeners burst into laughter. I've never seen anything like that. The younger guard sighed in frustration. He keeps predicting where I'm going. The older guard narrowed his eyes. No, he's reading you. The cat glanced back one last time before disappearing behind another section of the mansion. The workers scattered again, returning to their duties. The mansion quickly settled back into its usual rhythm. Deliveries arrived. Gardeners trimmed hedges. Chefs prepared lunch. Housekeepers polished marble floors until they reflected the afternoon sunlight. Only one pair of eyes continued watching everything. The cat moved silently along the edge of the property. He stopped near an outdoor play area that had been prepared for the twins once they became old enough to walk. Tiny swings, soft grass, bright toys. He sniffed each one before quietly continuing his patrol. Inside the nursery, the twins had finished their bottles. Their nanny smiled as she gently lifted one into her arms. You two are in such a happy mood today. One baby suddenly looked toward the door, then toward the window. She began making excited little sounds. The nanny laughed. Still thinking about your furry friend? The second twin copied her sister, kicking her tiny legs happily. The nanny walked over and looked outside. There was no sign of the orange cat. I guess he's gone, but he wasn't. He was resting beneath a flowering cherry tree where he could still see the nursery window through the leaves. A gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh flowers across the estate. Birds chirped overhead. It was a beautiful, peaceful afternoon. Then the cat's ears twitched. Once. Twice. He slowly lifted his head. Something was different. Not loud. Not obvious. Just different. A faint electrical buzzing drifted from the side of the mansion. Most people wouldn't have noticed it. The cat did. He stood immediately, his eyes fixed on a small utility section attached to the building. The sound stopped. Everything became quiet again. The cat remained perfectly still. After several seconds, he cautiously walked toward the area. Near the back wall, an outdoor maintenance worker opened an electrical cabinet. He frowned. That's strange. He adjusted a switch before closing the panel. There. Probably nothing. He walked away. The cat continued staring at the cabinet long after the man had left. Far above, Hidden beneath part of the roof, a tiny spark flickered inside an aging electrical junction. It disappeared almost instantly. Invisible to everyone below, the cat slowly blinked, then walked away. Inside the mansion, lunch preparations continued. The billionaire entered the dining room where several international investors had already arrived. She welcomed each guest warmly. "I'm glad you could all make it." One investor smiled. "Your home is beautiful." "Thank you." Another laughed. "I've heard your daughters have become the real owners of this mansion." She smiled for the first time that afternoon. "I can't argue with that. They certainly run my schedule." Everyone laughed. Meanwhile, upstairs, the twins were growing sleepy. The nanny gently placed each baby into her crib. "There we go. Nap time." Soft music filled the room. The curtains swayed gently in the warm afternoon breeze. Within minutes, both babies had fallen asleep. Downstairs, the meeting officially began. Charts appeared on a large screen. Financial reports were discussed. Future investments, expansion plans, new technology partnerships. No one upstairs noticed another tiny spark hidden deep within the wall behind the nursery. This one lasted a little longer, then disappeared. Outside, the orange cat suddenly stopped walking. His head turned sharply toward the mansion, his ears flattened. Again, that strange sound, almost too quiet to hear. He ran toward the building. Near the front entrance, one of the housekeepers nearly tripped over him. "Oh, you're still here." The cat ignored her completely. Instead, he circled the mansion once. Then again, he paused beneath the nursery window. His tail twitched. He looked up. Everything appeared normal. Bright blue sky, warm sunshine, flowers blooming. Nothing seemed wrong, yet he refused to leave. The older security guard noticed him. "Look, the cat's back." The younger guard groaned. "I'll call animal control again." "No." The older guard kept watching. "Something about him feels—" He stopped speaking. The cat was no longer sitting. He was pacing, back and forth, never taking his eyes off the upper floor. "What is he doing?" asked one gardener. "I don't know," the older guard answered quietly. "But I've seen search dogs behave like that before." The younger guard laughed. "He's just a stray." Before anyone could say another word, the cat let out the loudest cry anyone on the estate had heard all day. Not once. Again. Every head turned toward him. Even the billionaire paused in the middle of her presentation. The room became unusually quiet. One investor smiled awkwardly. "Persistent little fellow," she apologized. "I'll have someone remove him." Outside, the cat continued crying toward the mansion. He wasn't asking for food. He wasn't frightened. He sounded desperate. The older guard slowly looked from the cat to the upper floor windows. His expression changed. For reasons he couldn't explain, a single unsettling thought crossed his mind. What if? Before he could finish the sentence, something unexpected caught everyone's attention. A thin ribbon of pale gray smoke slipped from a small vent near the upper floor. It was so faint that most people missed it. The cat didn't. He bolted across the courtyard. The older guard looked up.
"Smoke! The baby's room!"
Echoed across the estate. Every conversation stopped. The billionaire pushed back her chair. "What did you say?" Before anyone answered, a housekeeper rushed into the dining room. "Ma'am, I think something is burning upstairs." Chairs scraped across the floor. Investors stood in confusion. Security guards sprinted toward the staircase. The billionaire's face lost all color. "My daughters." She ran. Several people followed close behind. The cat reached the front entrance first, but the heavy glass doors had already swung shut behind the rushing staff. He jumped against the glass. Once, twice. His paws slid back down. Inside, people were already shouting. "Find the source! Check every room! Bring extinguishers!" The older guard grabbed a fire extinguisher mounted near the hallway. "Move!" Another guard raced upstairs. The billionaire reached the second floor, almost breathless. The nursery. She hurried toward it. Halfway down the corridor, a nanny appeared carrying an empty baby blanket. The woman's face was filled with panic. I. The billionaire grabbed her shoulders. "Where are my daughters?" "I thought another nanny had already taken them downstairs." "What?" "I came back and—" Her voice broke. "They weren't in the hallway." The billionaire froze. "What do you mean they weren't in the hallway?" "I thought someone else had them." Silence. Just for a second. A horrifying realization spread across every face in the corridor. No one had the twins. The billionaire whispered, "No." Then louder, "No." She rushed toward the nursery. A security guard stopped her. "Ma'am, please. There may be smoke inside. My babies are in there." She tried to push past him. He held her back carefully. "We'll get them." "Let us go first." "I said move." Tears streamed down her face. "My daughters are in that room." Downstairs, someone shouted, "Call the fire department." Another employee grabbed a phone with trembling hands. "It's already done." Outside, workers began gathering in the courtyard. Nobody knew exactly what had happened. Rumors spread within seconds. "Are the babies outside?" "I don't know." "I thought they were rescued." "So did I." The orange cat ran around the side of the mansion. Every upstairs window flashed before his eyes. Then he stopped beneath the nursery. His ears lifted. Very faintly, a tiny cry. His entire body became still. There, the nursery. Without hesitation, he sprang onto a decorative stone planter. From there to a narrow ledge. Then onto a wooden pergola attached to the wall. Several gardeners stared. How is he climbing that? The older guard happened to glance outside through a hallway window. His eyes widened. The cat. He watched as the orange blur climbed higher with impossible confidence. The cat reached the nursery window. It was slightly open, just enough for fresh air to enter. He squeezed through. Inside the room, a light haze had begun to gather near the ceiling. Sunlight still poured through the large windows, keeping the nursery bright and clearly visible. The twins remained safely inside their cribs. They weren't crying loudly anymore. They looked confused by the unfamiliar smell in the air. The cat landed softly on the floor. Both babies immediately turned toward him. One reached out with a tiny hand. He ignored the gesture. Instead, he sniffed the air. His ears rotated, his eyes fixed on the nursery door. He padded toward it. He scratched. Nothing. He scratched harder. Still nothing. Outside, the hallway had become chaotic. People searched room after room. "The nursery's this way." "No, check the guest rooms first." "The smoke's getting thicker near the west corridor." Voices overlapped. In the confusion, no one heard the scratching. Inside the nursery, the cat ran back to the window. He looked down. The older guard was standing in the courtyard. The cat let out a sharp, urgent cry. The guard looked up. "There he is," the cat cried again, then ran to the nursery door, then back to the window. Again. Door, window, door, window. The older guard frowned. He had seen trained rescue animals behave like that years ago. His heartbeat quickened. "No," he whispered. "He isn't trapped. He's showing us something." "What?" asked a gardener. The guard pointed upward. "The babies. They're still inside." Without waiting for anyone to agree, he sprinted back into the mansion. "The nursery," he shouted at the top of his lungs. "The babies are in the nursery." Every person on the staircase turned. The billionaire looked at him with desperate hope. "Are you sure?" "The cat found them." For a split second, nobody moved. Then everyone rushed toward the nursery together. The billionaire clasped her hands tightly against her chest. Please let them be safe." If you've been rooting for this remarkable cat from the beginning, let us know in the comments. One small act of courage can change an entire family's future, and what happens when that nursery door finally opens will prove it beyond any doubt. The older guard reached the nursery door first. He wrapped one hand around the handle. "It won't open." Another guard stepped forward. "Move!" Together they pushed. The door shifted only slightly before stopping again. It must have swollen from the heat. Again, they leaned their weight against it. With a loud crack, the door finally swung inward. Fresh air rushed into the room. Sunlight poured across the floor. The orange cat immediately darted away from the doorway and stood beside the nearest crib. Both twins were safe, startled, but unharmed. "There they are." The billionaire ran into the room. "My babies." She carefully lifted one twin into her arms while the nanny gently picked up the other. Tears streamed freely down the billionaire's face as she kissed both girls again and again. "My precious girls. You're safe. You're both safe." The nanny could barely speak. "I'm so sorry. I thought someone had already taken them downstairs." The billionaire looked at her for a long moment. Then she gently shook her head. "We'll talk about that later. Right now, let's get everyone outside." The guards quickly escorted the family through the hallway, while another employee used a fire extinguisher to contain the small electrical fire until firefighters arrived. Within minutes, emergency crews reached the mansion. The firefighters confirmed that the fire had been limited to one section of the upper floor after an electrical fault inside the wall. One firefighter removed his helmet and smiled. "You called us early." That made all the difference. The billionaire hugged both daughters tightly. Then she looked around. "Where's the cat?" Everyone suddenly fell silent. The older guard looked toward the nursery. He was right beside the crib. The billionaire's expression changed. "He saved my daughters." "Find him." The staff spread across the estate. Garden, garage, courtyard, roof. No one could find him. Several minutes later, the youngest gardener called out, "Over here!" Everyone hurried toward the flowering cherry tree near the back garden. The orange cat was lying quietly beneath its shade. He wasn't injured. He simply looked exhausted. The twins noticed him immediately. One little girl stretched both hands toward him and smiled exactly as she had earlier that afternoon. The billionaire slowly knelt on the grass. For the first time since the cat had entered her home, she looked into his eyes without fear or hesitation. "You came back for them." The cat blinked slowly. She smiled through her tears. "And I tried to throw you away." The older guard spoke softly. "If he hadn't warned us." He couldn't finish the sentence. Everyone already knew. The billionaire carefully extended one hand. The cat sniffed her fingers, then gently rubbed his head against her palm. A quiet laugh escaped her. "I think," she whispered, "I've just been forgiven." The staff smiled. Even the younger guard laughed. "I owe you an apology too, little guy. You outsmarted all of us." The gardener chuckled. "I said he wasn't an ordinary stray." The billionaire stood and addressed everyone. "Listen carefully. No one is to call animal control. No one is to chase him away." She looked back at the cat. "From today, he's home." The announcement filled the garden with warm smiles. The housekeeper folded her arms with a grin. "So, I suppose we need a food bowl." The chef laughed. "I'll prepare something better than a food bowl." The nanny smiled. "And I think the twins have already chosen their favorite babysitter." Everyone laughed for the first time since the frightening afternoon. Over the following weeks, the mansion slowly returned to normal. The damaged section of the house was repaired. New fire safety systems were installed. Emergency drills became part of the household routine. But the biggest change wasn't found in the walls. It was found in one small orange cat. Every morning, he quietly followed the twins' stroller through the gardens. Every afternoon, he waited patiently outside the nursery during nap time. Whenever either baby laughed, his ears immediately turned toward the sound. Whenever either one cried, he was the first to arrive at the door. The younger guard eventually admitted, "I've guarded important people for 15 years. I've never met anyone more dedicated than this cat." The older guard smiled. Sometimes heroes don't wear uniforms. Months later, a local newspaper published a story about the mysterious stray who had helped save 2 babies. The article spread across Korea within hours. Soon, television crews requested interviews. Animal lovers shared the story online. Parents everywhere were moved by the unlikely hero who had asked for nothing in return. When reporters asked the billionaire why she never adopted another guard animal, she simply smiled toward the garden. The orange cat was resting beneath the same cherry tree, while the twins, now happily crawling across a blanket nearby, giggled every time he lazily swished his tail. She answered, "I already have the best guardian my daughters could ever ask for." Years from now, the twins would hear the story countless times, not as a tale about a fire, not as a story about fear, but as a reminder that kindness should never depend on appearances, because the one life everyone had dismissed became the one life that protected what mattered most. And perhaps that's the lesson worth carrying into every home. Compassion has a way of returning when it's needed most, often through the most unexpected friend. If this story touched your heart, let us know where you're watching from and tell us, would you have opened your home to that little orange cat? Your comments help keep stories of courage and kindness alive for others to discover. If you believe heroes deserve to be remembered, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people can experience stories that remind us that even the smallest act of love can change a family's future forever.